Hello and welcome once again to Serendipity. I'm Jessalyn Wheelis, a children's librarian at the Summit Free Public Library. Now the stories today, there are two stories today, and they come from islands. The first story, The Girl Who Spun Gold, comes from the West Indies. And the information does not give me a specific island, it just says West Indies. The second story, The Dancing Granny, comes to us, a folktale from Antigua. Now, it is interesting too that Cuba is the location for the song I'm going to do, which is Guantanamera. So this is an island program, you might say. And we'll start with the stories and the song, and then I'll show you how to do the craft, which is making friendship bracelets. This story is The Dancing Granny. It's a folk tale that came to us from Antigua, an island in the West Indies. And it's retold beautifully by Ashley Bryan. Now, you have a part in the story. Whenever Granny sings her favorite song, you sing with her, and this is the song. Shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best. Will you please try that with me? Okay, here we go. Shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best. And that is also her favorite dance tune, so you'll probably get to sing it a few times. There was an old woman who lived in a hut. Everyone called her Granny Antigua. She stirred her pot and tasted her stew. Yum. She beat the sides of the calabash. Pump-a-lum, pump-a-lum. Granny Antigua was a happy old woman. She woke up every morning singing. Her favorite song was, shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best. Granny Antigua sang all day while she did her work. She sang the best tunes, and she had one more thing that she loved to do, even more than sing. She loved to dance. She danced in the morning, she danced at noon, she danced till the sun set, and all night long she danced in her dreams. Sweet, sweet, she said. Now, Granny Antigua was proud of her garden. She would do a little dance when she put the seeds into the earth to push them down so that they would grow. She had all kinds of vegetables. She had okra, beets, yams, white potatoes, green beans, and she took very good care of her garden, so her vegetables were always delicious. Now, one day, Spider and Nancy came by there, and you have never met a fellow as lazy as Spider and Nancy. His idea of getting dinner was to trick somebody else out of their dinner. And so that day, he saw Granny working in the garden, and he thought to himself, I won't get a thing from that garden unless Granny goes. So he had an idea, and he climbed up a tree. He started to sing. Pump-a-lum, pump-a-lum, Papa's here but Mama's gone. I sing, you dance, my sweetie, you dance, I sing, my dee-dee. Well, Granny liked the sound of that. She started to sway back and forth, holding on to her hoe and smiling. So, Spider Nancy sang her favorite song. Shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best. Oh, Granny Antigua began to skip around just like a little girl, and she started turning cartwheels until she was clean out of sight. Spider Nancy climbed down from the tree and laughed. He said that dancing Granny moved like a whistle on the end of a thistle. He gathered up all of Granny's fresh corn. He took it home to his house. His mother said, "Good corn." His wife said, "Sure as you're born." Well, when Granny finally stopped dancing, she was 9 miles from her village. She had to walk all the way home, and as she walked home, she thought to herself, "I wonder why Spider didn't come and dance with me. He sings the danciest tunes." But when she got home and saw that all of her fresh, ripe corn was gone, she knew why he didn't dance with her. She said, "That thieving rascal Spider. The next time I won't let him trick me so." Well, she didn't have to wait long. The very next day, Spider came back. He climbed up the tree. He started to sing. "Pum-pa-lum, pum-pa-lum, Papa's here but Mama's gone. I sing, you dance, my sweetie. You dance, I sing, my dee-dee." Oh, Granny tried not to move to the music. She dug her toes into the earth and held tightly onto her hoe. She said, "I won't let you trick me this time." Spider sang her favorite song. "Shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best." Oh, Granny Antigua couldn't keep still. She wheeled to the east, she wheeled to the west. She started turning cartwheels again till she was clean out of sight. Spider Nancy climbed down from the tree and laughed. He said, "That dancing Granny looked just like the thistle on the end of a whistle." And he gathered up all of Granny's fresh, ripe beans and peas, took them home to his house. His mother said, "Good beans, good peas." His wife said, "If you please." When Granny finally stopped turning cartwheels and dancing, she was 10 miles away from her village. She had to walk all the way home. And when she got home, she saw that her peas and beans were gone. "Oh, that thieving rascal," she said, "Spider Nancy, I won't let him trick me again." Well, she took all of her ripe vegetables that were ready to be picked and put them in her hut. She didn't have to wait long. The very next day, Spider came back, and this time he was so sure of himself, he started to sing before he climbed up the tree. Well, Granny grabbed hold of Spider and held him tight. "Let go," he said. "Let go. I stole your peas and beans and your corn." "I know, sure as you're born," said Granny. "I want you to sing that song and dance with me." And she pinched Spider hard. "Ow," he said. "Sing that song," she said. "Shake it to the east, shake it to the west, shake it to the very one that you love the best." Oh, Granny Antigua soon felt the sweet beat of Spider and Nancy's steps. And Spider and Nancy had never had a better dance partner than Granny Antigua. Why, they danced farther together than Granny had ever danced alone. And if Spider's still singing, they're probably still dancing. Dance, Granny, you move like the river. Dance, Spider, let's dance forever. Dance, Granny, as the lead bends. The dance goes on, but the story ends.
1, 2, 3. Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Y antes de morirme quiero echar mis versos del alma. Guantanamera, de la tierra, quiero yo mi suerte echar, el orgullo de la sierra, hace más que el mar. Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera.
This book is entitled The Girl Who Spun Gold. The writer was Virginia Hamilton, and the artwork, the beautiful artwork, is done by a married couple, Leo and Diane Dillon. Now, both Virginia Hamilton and the Dillons have won so many awards. I've really never seen anyone that won that many awards. Virginia Hamilton has won more than one Newbery Award, which is the award for the best children's book of the year. And the Dillons have won Caldecott Awards, etc., etc. I couldn't name them all for you. Now, I just discovered this book, and I'm so glad I did. And it is now one of my absolute favorite stories and favorite books. And I think it will be for you also. And please pay a special attention to the artwork, which is amazing. There is this tale told about a tiny fellow who could hide in a foot of shade amid old trees. All that most could see of him was the way he sparkled. Some say he wore a pointy hat. He had one true leg. The other leg stood straight out stiff and was made of wood. He had a long tail. He could fly through the air, it's true. He had magic. And when the shade danced with flecks of gold, it was the little fellow himself, Littmann, going about his mischief. Anybody and everybody old, like the trees, knew how he could appear and disappear, and they knew enough to stay out of his shade. One day, young Big King came riding amidst the trees, and just then Littmann was hiding in the shade, watching a lovely girl spinning plain thread. She and her mama were laughing and talking loud when Big King turned his horses and stopped there. Says he, "Here, what is all this noise in my kingdom?" Well, the mama, thinking fast, says, "Oh, great Big King, my daughter is spinning a whole field of finest golden thread to make cloth for His Highness. And we are so happy, we are rejoicing about that, don't you know?" "Well, if that is true," said the king, "I will have to marry your daughter, who is very beautiful, and she will be my queen." Quashiba was the daughter's name. She was upset at her mama's terrible lie, for she spun only the plainest thread, and how would she weave a whole field of cloth? Shyly now, Quashiba looked up from her spinning wheel to smile at the handsome king, and he smiled back. Soon, a wedding day was arranged for them. It came quickly. There was cake and good food, baking bread, roasted goat, and chickens cooking. For a while, the mama forgot what she had said about the golden thread. She was so very happy for her daughter. And the whole kingdom was decked with flowers. All turned out for a splendid wedding day. The two got married, they did. Everybody called out their names. Big King, Queen Kwashiba. It was as if the sound of fresh wind rolled out of the hills and washed over the land. Big King, Queen Kwashiba, hooray! Well, Big King had to become bigger than he needed to be. Being young, he went too far. He told Kwashiba, "You can have everything you want. You can have fine robes and gowns and friends to call upon you. But after this year ends and one day more, you will start spinning golden thread. Do you hear me? You must start weaving me 3 whole rooms of golden things." The king left her there with her mother. "Oh no," cried the mama. "You hear that, Queenie Kwashi?" That's what she called her own sweet daughter. "I am so sorry for what I said. Oh, I'm afraid for you," said the mama. "Never mind, Mama," Queenie Kwashi said. "Never you sorrow, my dearie dear. You will see. Big King will forget about it. The golden stuff he wants me to spin is a long way away, a whole year and a day." All was best and good for a year and a day. Queen Kwashiba had footmen and headmen. She had pie makers and cake bakers. She made her handmaids spin the threads. All bad was forgotten until one day Big King came and took her to a room as large as a playing field. "Better have this room spun full of golden thread and cloth and things by dawn," said he. "Else you'll stay cooped up in here forever and a year." He padlocked the iron door against her. Tears ran down Kwashiba's face. She was so sad and afraid, trembling all over, for she only knew how to spin plain thread. But hearing a noise, she peered around, and there a tiny man came floating. He was all over ugly for true. He grinned at Kwashiba. He bowed grandly to her, standing on the air, and tipped the tall green hat he wore. It was Litman himself, the tiny shade fellow. His wooden leg never bent. He wore striped trousers, and he had a long tail that swung this way and that way. Poor Kwashiba was more frightened than ever. Litman spoke. "Girl, what's the matter with you?" said he, kindly enough. So Queen Kwashiba quieted her fear and told him her own true name and all the good and the bad that had happened to her. "I'll help you with making golden things," he said, "but you must guess my whole name." "And if I can't guess it, what will happen?" Queen Kwashiba asked. "Well, you have 3 nights to try and 3 chances each night. And if you can't guess my name by the final night and the last chance, then I will make you tiny, just like me, and I will carry you off to live in my shade." Queen Kwashiba couldn't stand to even be near the little fellow, but sweetly she said, I thank you kindly. I will be naming you within the 3 nights and with the chances you have given me." "Good," cried Littman. He began singing and twirling his tail and flying round and round the room big as a field. Quashiba got so sleepy with all his sashaying up and down that she yawned twice and fell asleep. By and by she awoke. All was dark, with the moonlight creeping through her windows. Littman was right there, bowing and grinning. The room, big as a field, soon shone, full of golden thread and cloth and golden things up to the ceiling. And Littman spoke then softly, "Queenie Quashi, what's my name?" Wide-eyed, Quashiba thought hard. "Your name be Septimus," she said at last. "No," shouted he. "Then your name must be Obadiah." "No," Littman laughed the hat off his head. He did, and put it back on. Queen Quashiba thought about it and thought about it. "Jimma Jama," she shouted. Littman hollered loud, "No!" "Oh, no, no, no!" He doubled over laughing. He leaped up and flew out of there. Dawn light, and Big King came and unlocked Quashiba's room. There was all the gold cloth, bright as the sun. Big King was so happy, he kissed Quashiba's hand. Later, he led her into another room. "Fill this room with gold," he commanded. And he padlocked her in and left her there, all alone. Queen Quashiba stood feeling bad when there came the little man through the open window. He brought her food and water. And while she tried to eat, he flew as easily as a feather floating. Bowing, he grinned and twirled. It made Quashiba so dizzy, she pushed the food away. Poor woman, she fell asleep in her chair just before the night came down. Later, when she came wide awake at some sound, Littman was there, showing his toothy grin. The room was filled clear up, clear down, and all around, with gold thread and cloth and things. There were gold mirrors, and they showed Littman made of winking gold flecks. "Good evening, my queenie. Now, what is my name?" Littman asked her. Quashiba said right back, "Your name is Nicholas." "No." "Then it must be Nehemiah." And he said again, "No." "No." Quashiba frowned and said, "Never could get him?" "No." The little fellow man laughed and rose up and flew away. Big King came and saw the second room full of golden stuff. He was so happy, he asked his poor wife to have supper with him. The servants brought a feast of hog and apples with plantains, fish and coconuts, red beans and rice. Queen Quashiba was so happy to be out of that room. Big King looked happy too. He was proud of her. He said, "You are so smart to know how to spin golden threads." I saw something today when I was out hunting. I'll tell you what it was. I was in the woods, and I came upon a big hole in the ground at the foot of a tree. And down in that hole, there was a funny-looking little man with a wooden leg and striped trousers and wearing a tall green hat. He had a tail, and he was dancing on his best leg and singing a song. I sat very still to listen. My name be Litman, Litman, hey oh hum, Litman, Litman be me. Quashiba's eyes opened wide. Her mouth formed an O in surprise. The king had to laugh. Well, he was a funny fellow. He had more to sing about, and he did. What? Quashiba asked breathlessly. This Litman, he spoke on about himself, said Big King. My name be Litman. I am not tall, but am quite short, said he. Dear mother said to me, you are the magic one. My forever favorite, Litman Bitian. Litman Bitian, whispered the queen. Ah, comical little fellow he was for true, said the king. After they had eaten, Big King told her, last time, Quashiba, just one more room of gold, please now. Good night, he said, and he padlocked the door. But Quashiba wouldn't say a word. She was angry at the king for treating her so. Angry also at the creature of magic, Litman Bitian. For in the room, soon as the door was locked, Litman flew through the window to her side. He grinned. He bowed and said, this is your last chance, my queenie. You better get my name right, or I am going to make you an itty-bitty Quashi, tinier than me. He danced around her, and he sang and twirled his tail, and Queen Quashiba fell fast asleep. She woke up soon, oh yes. Of course the room was full to bursting with golden stuffs. Litman was right there, sitting on top of the high gold pile. Spoke he, Queenie Quashi, guess you will this time. You only have 3 chances. If you don't know my name, you will be forever shaded and ever so small. His tail twirled round and round so fast, Quashiba lost sight of it. So she said, your name is Squash Him Up? No. And tail whizzing through the air, he said, 2 more guesses. Your name must be Tear Down Door? No, it's not. You better think good this one last time, Queenie Quashi. And so, Quashiba thought good and strong. She put hands on hips and reared back. She told him, your name is Litman Bitian. Yes, the name your mother gave you, you ugly, silly, tiny thing. See, Litman gave out a screech so loud it turned the moon around. The hat jumped off his head. His ears fell off. Pop, pop, he goes in a million bitty flecks of gold that flowed into the night and disappeared. Real loud noise was Litman Bitian going. He sounded like hot grease in a wet skillet. as all of him vanished in the dark. There was left a scent of burning feathers. That was all. Queen Quashiba would not talk to Big King for 3 long years, and 3 long fields full of him saying, "Forgive me, my Queen Quashiba. I was so greedy to ask for golden things. I have buried every padlock in our kingdom." And that's the story told. They say Queen Quashiba finally forgave Big King, and they lived fairly happily ever after. But never again did anyone old like the trees see sparkly lit Monbitian in the shade. Some elders say he comes near still, dancing and floating above our heads. And when is that? Don't you know? Each time, they say, when this tale is told. And that is the story of the girl who spun gold. I bet when you heard the story, The Girl Who Spun Gold, it reminded you of another story, a folktale from Germany called Rumpelstiltskin. And there is a folktale like that from England called Tom Tit Tot. And there's a folktale like that from Ireland called Duffy and the Devil. So it's interesting, isn't it, how many different stories like that there are. A name is a powerful thing. I also wanted to point out, since in our craft we're going to be making friendship bracelets, I wanted to point out something I don't know if you thought of. When Granny Anika wanted Spider Nancy to stop stealing from her, do you remember what she did? She grabbed him and made him dance with her. That made him stop stealing, and that made him use his best qualities, singing and dancing, and that made him her friend. He had never had a better dance partner than Granny. And so that is why we're going to make friendship bracelets. You'll be taking a string and stringing beads, different kinds of beads on it. Should be a lot of fun. And then you just put it on and wear it. You can keep it yourself or give it to a friend or a relative. It'll be yours, whatever you would like to do with it. Now, next week, our program is going to be celebrating the Chinese New Year. We're going to have some wonderful stories, and we're going to make a Chinese lantern. I look forward to seeing you then.